What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What we doing? What we doing? What we doing? What we doing, man? What we doing? What's up with y'all, man? Everyone. As you can see, I'm very, very excited. I know it's been a while. For those of you tuning in, thank you. Thank you for being very patient with me. But a new episode of Nass going down right now. I have a lot to unpack, as you can see. Got my notes with me because I'm a prepared student and whatnot. So I gotta stay on my P's and Q's. But yeah. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nass. I have a whole lot for y'all to tune into. I know a lot's going on. Trade deadline, All-Star break. I know people have had a lot to say about what's been going on around the league the past couple weeks. But with that being said, I'm too excited. I can't even give you guys a proper intro because there is a lot to talk about. Tune in.
Engulfed by the history, the most successful and storied history. Anybody else ought to throw that locker room up?
Besides the All-Star break, I feel like we can all come to a consensus that the biggest story going on over the past 2-3 weeks has easily been, the big KD trade to Phoenix. Phoenix and Brooklyn, they came to agreement. I believe it was Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and 4 unprotected first-round picks. Four. Yeah, you heard that. You heard that right. 4 unprotected first-round picks going to Brooklyn in a swap for Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. Basically, in my opinion, I think it's got to be the biggest trade of my lifetime because, for one, not just the stature of Kevin Durant and where he is in league history, who he is as this big basketball figure, but where he currently is, like what stage he's currently in his career. I mean, I like to think he's still a superstar at this level. He's been playing amazing since he got to Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn's been a mess. I feel like KD, the biggest thing you can say about KD when it comes to that tenure is that, he left Steph for Kyrie and left Steph, and when it got Harden and, the whole thing was a mess. But what I didn't understand about that whole thing is, like, first off, when he went to Golden State, he got the 2 rings. They almost three-peat until he busts his Achilles. But during the whole process of, him winning the championships and going at it with LeBron, we had all these narratives around the league saying, we can't really count those rings. His legacy is still up in the air. All these silly things. So then he leaves, he goes to Brooklyn. That whole mess happens, it occurs, and then we look back and we're like, oh, we left Steph. Well, I mean, we weren't even giving him the credit when he was with Steph. Shout out Joy Taylor too, who filled in for Colin Coward. She had a beautiful breakdown on KD's career. People basically like to talk about KD's career from when he got to Golden State to this point, as if the whole Oklahoma City tenure, that just never happened, as if like he never played 9 years in OKC, didn't make an appearance to the finals where he gave LeBron 30 a night and, pushed them to 5-6 games in a very competitive series. No MVP, didn't have all those deep playoff runs with Russ. I know they choked the lead, but until he got to Golden State, I think the OKC Thunder were probably the biggest challenge to, those Dynasty Warriors. I mean, that legendary 2016 Western Conference Finals, in my opinion, is probably, that's my favorite playoff series ever. I think it's the best playoff series ever just because it was just these not just two organizations, but these 2 organizations that were just all these future Hall of Famers just going at it. And looking back on it, like, I didn't really like soak it in, like, wow, like I'm really cherishing like 5-6 Hall of Famers just going at it. So Yeah, shout out to Joy Taylor again. I watched the segment on her today, and she was really just attacking beautiful points about KD and all these silly narratives around him, and I feel like we just need to appreciate him a little bit more. I feel like we need to stop treating him like he's Clyde Drexler or Vince Carter or and there's no knock on those guys. Those guys are Hall of Fame caliber players. Shout out Clyde Drexler, shout out Vince Carter. Hall of Fame caliber players, but man, there's levels to this, and I that's one thing I try to emphasize with these players. Like some of these players are just they're just in a different like stratosphere. And I mean, we've been seeing it from Kevin Durant ever since he became a net. I mean, I have it down here in these notes. Since KD became a net, in the regular season, I won't count the playoffs. Just the regular season, since he was a net, his career averages are 29 points, 7 boards, and 6 dimes. 53, 40, 90 shooting splits. That is KD's career as a net. If you take in all those 3 years, those are his career averages. So, it's he hasn't slipped. I feel like no one really anticipated him, slipping a little bit, but you definitely have to appreciate, the level of play, especially at this stage of his career. I'm not saying he's duplicating what LeBron is doing, but I feel like the longevity LeBron has had it's kind of been good and bad for the league. It's been great because it's so inspiring. LeBron's been able to play 20 years of superstar level basketball. But on the downside of it, now you're putting that bar on every single superstar in the league right now. Now you see Russell Westbrook, for example, he's deteriorated a little bit. People expect him to age like LeBron, but LeBron's an outlier. Kevin Durant is an outlier. Shout out CP3. He's done his best. I know, off the court, he's really been changing his diet just so he can get to this point, So, speaking of CP3, I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, before I get into really what I expect from them, and it's funny that I said expect, I'm not going to put, title expectations on the Suns because it's not really realistic before I even do that, Kevin Durant, his greatest superpower, his greatest skill or his greatest characteristic in basketball is him being able to seamlessly fit in any sort of team setting with any sort of type of player and any sort of type of offense, personnel, coach, it doesn't matter. He adapts to every situation he's been in. He's been able to. When he went to Golden State, he went there, okay, he's scoring, but he did not hinder Clay, he didn't hinder Steph, he didn't hinder Draymond. Those guys were still able to go on the court and be as effective as they could. He went to Brooklyn, everyone was like, okay, how's Kyrie and KD, how are they going to work? Like, don't get me wrong, like, Brooklyn was madness. Obviously, it was a nightmare for any organization that gets to have at least 2 superstar players on their team. But when you just look at the numbers and when they were on the court, those guys were producing. And Kevin Durant didn't take anything from Kyrie. Kyrie didn't hinder anything from Kevin Durant. In terms of just being on the court, like productivity, they were just able to adapt. Kevin Durant more so than anyone. And I just feel like it's going to be the same thing in Phoenix. I feel like it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit for where KD is in his career. It's a perfect fit for where Devin Booker is in his career. It's a perfect fit for where CP3 is in his career. Granted, Phoenix did give up a lot. I went on the record saying, like, if Phoenix and the new owner, if they were really willing to, sacrifice their future or put their, mortgage their future for a player or a player of the caliber of Kevin Durant, I thought to fit the timeline, it'd be better if they went and got someone like OG Anunoby. Just because, OG Anunoby just fits the age timeline better. He's around Devin Booker's age. He's around Mikal Bridges' age. He's around DeAndre Ayton's age. They can kind of grow together. You know what I mean? And then Mikal Bridges is already a two-way star. He's been a two-way star the past 2 years. We saw when he was, guarding LeBron the first round back in 2021 when AD got hurt. There was a reason why the Lakers lost. Like, I know AD got hurt, but they lost for numerous reasons. And they lost for numerous reasons because he was guarding him. I just felt like giving up Mikal Bridges, giving up Cam Johnson. Obviously, if you're going to get someone like OG Anunoby, one of the two has to go. But I just felt like those two guys specifically, like, that is a lot. That is a lot. They're both young. They're entering their primes as we speak. Shout out to Mikal Bridges, obviously. Two-way star. He just dropped 45 in Brooklyn. I even apologize because I believe it was last year. He was getting a lot of all-star love, similar to how Aaron Gordon's been getting a lot of love this year prior. and I just wasn't buying it. I was just like, listen, Mikal Bridges is great, but like All-Star, are we really gonna get into that? So I just felt like Phoenix, if I was a GM, I probably would try to get OG Anunoby. But I can't hate on KD. If you have a chance to go get a player like that, a top 15-ish player of all time, go and do it. Like, I'm definitely not gonna hate on it, especially for where Phoenix is right now, and just seeing all the moves in the West that are being made. You gotta get it. But it definitely is a gamble because, for one, KD is 34 in like year 16. He's had a lot of miles. He hasn't been able to stay on the court for, I don't think he's played. KD hasn't played more than, I don't think he's played more than like 50 games in like 3 years. I don't even have it written down. I actually just kind of just freestyled it, but he hasn't been able to play over 50 games in more than a couple years. Obviously, he's recovered. He's recovered fully off the Achilles. He's recovered fully off the foot stress fracture from early in his career. He's suffered a couple MCL sprains. These things start to add up, and then you take into the mileage. Like, KD played a lot of minutes last year. He played a lot of minutes. Steve Nash kind of drove that guy into the ground, and KD won't admit it because he's a basketball savant. He's a basketball junkie. You've heard him. Like, he just loves basketball, and there's nothing wrong with that. Superstar players don't want to come out. Who would want to come out, especially if you're that skilled, and at that point in your career, you just want to play, obviously. But I like the move for Phoenix just because it's a new owner. He's coming in, and he's like, hey, what are we waiting for? Let's just go get the ring now. But I'm not gonna put that championship bar on Phoenix right now because it's not realistic for a guy that's coming off an MCL sprain. He's in a whole nother situation. Granted, it's gonna look great on paper. It's gonna look great on the court, not even on paper. It's gonna look great on the court. Don't get me wrong. But I just believe that when you take into account the mileage on KD, the mileage on CP, Devin Booker's also been a little dinged up. They're going to get to the playoffs, and they're still, I don't know if they're going to have enough reps together to really have an identity. Like, don't get me wrong, like, CP3, Booker, and KD, they could all take turns and just ISO the hell out of everyone and just, still be able to average 120. But, the playoffs is a little different. Playoffs, game slows down. You really got to get into your sets. And even then, like, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are probably two of the best half-court players in the league when it comes to just being effective and scoring at all three levels. Like, there's no such thing as slowing their games down because they're built for that. They're built for half-court offense. They're built for the game being slowed down. They're built for, refs swallowing the whistle. So I do think that it's not going to take that long for the three of them to adapt, but I just don't know if their bench is going to hold up. So now I'm looking at them like, who's going to defend on this team? Who's going to go and guard Luka Doncic? Who's going to go guard Kyrie Irving? Who's going to guard Steph, John Morant, Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, Dame Lillard? Like, all these guys that they might see in the playoffs. It's those are all guys that Mikal Bridges would go guard. So now, is Booker going to go guard them? Kevin Durant? I'm sure definitely they won't shy away from the challenge, but when you get back to the team aspect and everyone being effective and buying in, teams need reps. That's why I see a team like the Denver Nuggets, team like the Sacramento Kings. Those teams have played together. They're not even just star players. I'm talking about the 5-man units. Their 5-man lineups have spent a lot of minutes together on the court. It's not enough. Practice is not enough. You got to go out there and be able to get those actual in-game reps, late game, in-game situations. But I'm sure they're gonna figure it out. Who am I to fool you? They're gonna figure it out. But before I keep going, for me, the biggest X factor for that team is DeAndre Ayton. He's one of the most skilled big men in the league in terms of on offense. He can step out. He's pretty comfortable anywhere from 10 to 16 feet out mid range. Great pick and pop, great pick and roll. He's looked pretty good this past month. I feel like Booker suffering that I believe it was a quad injury. I think it was a quad or hammy, something along those sorts. Booker suffering that was great for DeAndre Ayton because DeAndre Ayton was able to get those reps, the one guy reps. You know what I'm saying? I say one guy as in like guys who are the focal point of the offense. They're still dictating stuff on the defense, and he's a big man. So I felt like that was really key for him because when he got drafted, he's tailoring to Booker. CP3 comes in, now he's tailoring to CP3. Granted, CP3 is enhancing, his ceiling on offense and his skill set and putting him in a position where he can very much be effective. You also got to take into account that it's not it's not really up to him. You know what I mean? It's a little different when it's just Ayton. It was just Ayton, and we've never really got to see that side of him. I think it was very key that he got those reps under him. So now when KD comes in, he doesn't have to worry about a damn thing. He's gonna have a couple tasks: be a good screener, be a good roller, be ready for the pick and pop, rebound, block shots, control the paint, and that's gonna be Ainge's job. So I feel like he's gonna really flourish, but he is going to be the X factor to where the Suns go. Chris Paul, I'm not worried about Chris Paul. Chris Paul, I think, might be the biggest winner out of everyone on this Suns team after the KD trade. Because as you've seen the past couple years, his body hasn't been able to hold up going late into the season. A lot of miles. And he's looked at as the secondary scoring option after Booker. Now, Booker's a superstar scorer. Skilled scorer, don't get me wrong. But, like in this league, like, it seems like every elite team or every team that is a legit contender in their conference has at least two guys that can go get them a good 25 points. CP3 can do that, but CP3 is also quarterbacking the offense. He is the backbone to the offense. He makes everything go. You know what I mean? The team does not lose a beat when he is the one controlling the offense. He still has that. See, his numbers are down a little bit down this year, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, but he's turned it around. But this is what I was going back to with LeBron James. LeBron James has set this bar so high with longevity and age that you don't know when these guys are supposed to retire. Back in the day, guys like AI, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, like that particular era of basketball, as you see when Wade, AI, Kobe, they got to 32, 33, 34 years old, miles start to add up. Those lingering injuries that would take them a couple of days to shake off, now it's taking them weeks to shake off. Those injuries are adding to other injuries. So that's what usually comes with, aging. But like I said, LeBron James is an outlier. Kevin Durant, he's also an outlier. He's 34 years old. He's still talked about as arguably the best player in the league. It's very rare you really see that, especially at that age. Once you hit 33, 34 in the NBA or in basketball, I should say, you don't slip completely off the cliff, but you kind of have to find new ways to be effective. You see Russell Westbrook's kind of battling that right now. So with CP3, I think he's the biggest winner here. Next, I would obviously say Devin Booker. The Suns get to reclaim their spot as a legit contender. I feel like last year, after they lost to the Mavs, people were kind of throwing the towel under the bus. People kind of quit on them. Granted, they still had the core of Devin Booker, Ayton, and Mikal Bridges, which before the KD trade, I thought that was the core of the future. That's why I was so, I don't want to say devastated when they traded Mikal Bridges, but I felt away because, Mikal Bridges, like, he was so vital to, the finals chip that they made. And even the team last year that won over 50 games, or it might have been, I think they won 60 or so, but they were a 1 seed. They cruised all last year. They choked to Luka, they choked to Mavs, but, I didn't expect the team to fall off a cliff completely. So I think they got some bad buzz in the offseason, but, it happens. It happens. So, they're back in this spot now where they're ready to really compete for a championship. So, great move. As I continue on, another reason why I feel like KD, Booker, CP3, they're gonna have kind of a not smooth, but the transition to really building that camaraderie that you need to make those long, playoff runs. I feel like it's gonna be easier than other teams because their play styles all of their play styles basically complement each other. So you got Devin Booker and KD, both 3-level scores, but they're a little similar but a little different. Booker can spot up, he can shoot. KD can spot up, he can shoot. They can both create off the dribble. They can both initiate pick and roll. But I feel like this is going to be a little different because CP3 is really the one who can quarterback the offense. But I feel like you're going to see a new level of efficiency between KD and Booker. So KD, coming into this year, he's the only player in the NBA history to make over 55% of his mid-range shots in a season. Kevin Durant this year averages 12.2 points per game just on mid-range pull-up jump shots. Devin Booker averages 11.4 points per game on mid-range pull-up jump shots. This is just mid-range, like I said. And those are double-digit scores. So when I was going back to CP3 quarterback in the offense, there's going to be a lot of situations where the clock is going down. We're under like 7 seconds, need a shot. And it's either going to be Booker or KD. And you really have to pick your poison because those are two of the premier elite shot makers in the league. They take a lot of tough shots. and they make a lot of tough shots. Another thing is they also hit their free throws. So I feel like Booker and KD, they might not be parallel to Kyrie KD, just because Kyrie and Booker, they have two different play styles. But Kyrie and Booker can both kill you in sets and in isolation. They can spot up. Booker's gonna complement KD just like Kyrie did. And the biggest difference here is that CP3 is going to be the one running this offense. They're going to get a lot of efficient looks. KD's already, I'll say on the record, KD is the most efficient superstar scorer ever. He's more efficient than Mike. You can check the numbers. He's more efficient than Mike. He's more efficient than Kobe. More efficient than LeBron. When it comes to just scoring at all three levels, free throw, threes, mid-range pull-up, post-ups, getting to the rim, KD's got that. He might not be declared the most, the greatest scorer because of, longevity in games and winning points and whatnot. That takes a while. LeBron just passed the all-time scoring record, so I'm not even going to get into, who that is, but Durant's up there with all of them. And, that 50, 40, 90 stuff, Durant's done that. And Kobe's on that list. LeBron's never done that. Mike has never done that. So I do believe that Durant and Booker, they're going to coexist beautifully. Like, I don't think it's going to take a lot. My main worry is just defense. Like I said earlier, I don't know who is going to be the premier defensive stopper. So you got Josh Okogie, you got Ian Wainwright, Terrence Ross, Landry Shamet, Campaign, Torrey Craig. Those are not bad players. Those are all very, solid role players. But out of all those guys, I don't know, besides Okogie, I don't really know who's really known for, being the premier perimeter defensive stopper. Like, if Dallas matches up with Phoenix, who's guarding Luka? Who's guarding Luka? And you could say the same, okay, who's going to guard Booker? Who's going to guard CP3? Who's going to guard Durant? But we're just talking specifically Phoenix. Who are they going to throw at Luka? They might put up 120 points. Don't get me wrong. But are they going to let up 120 points? Or are they going to let up 90? Are they going to be... I think we already know, like, the teams that make the finals... Most of the teams that make the finals, and by most, I mean more so 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, it's usually a team that is top 10 in our offensive efficiency and the top 10 team in defensive efficiency. Obviously, we've yet to see it come to life. I have to wait and, see how it looks. But I do believe that at some point, we're going to have to, the game's going to slow down. We have to figure out who's going to be doing it. Mortgaging off 4 first round unprotected picks is a hell of a gamble. It doesn't matter what team you are. If you're mortgaging off or willing to sacrifice 4 unprotected first round picks, first round picks, 4 first, yeah. If you're willing to do that, then that's a gamble. Do I think it's worth Kevin Durant? Potentially, obviously with the players that they threw into. But that's only if I see you guys getting like 2 rings. A ring will help. But like I said, with the timeline, like, we don't know how many years CP3 has left. I don't really know how many years KD has left because, like I said earlier, the last time he played over 60 games in a year, I think that might have been like 2018, 2019. So what are we really banking on? But now, despite everything that I said, and I did say a lot, the mid-range, just the skilled scoring power from KD and Booker, CP3's ability to get them easy looks, Ayton being the X factor, my worries about who is going to, be on the perimeter defending these other star scorers in the West. Despite all that, you do have to take into account Monty Williams did coach KD in 2015-2016 before his late wife's passing. He was the associate head coach, so there's already that familiarity with KD, and that matters. You gotta take that into account because, coaching these players, he might already know, he might already be familiar with, how to coach KD, how to approach him. It might make the transition a lot more easier. So you gotta take that into account. Booker and KD, it's kind of, it's not a huge story, but KD wanted Sam Presti to draft Booker back in 2015 when Booker was coming out. He wanted Sam Presti to draft Booker. at this time, this was a little bit post James Harden. This was just KD, Russ. KD felt like, listen, we should go get Booker. He said it on a podcast. Said, yeah, OKC, we wanted him. You gotta take that into account. KD is someone that has been very, very outspoken about Booker, how much he admires his game. You know, he had that little segment on the Old Man, the Three, and the ETCs, that collab episode that they had, talking about how Booker is one of his favorite players to watch. You know, how he admires his play style, like I said, the trash talking, everything. So KD, we already know he just respects Booker. He's a fan of Booker. We already know that. He wanted OKC to draft him. I feel like those things kind of matter because now that's peer-to-peer, you know, in terms of just basketball. It's a player-to-player. That's going to help them coexist on the court. Those are just little things that they might not mean a lot, but they're going to show a lot on the court. You know what I mean? So that you got to take into account. And Monty Williams, his familiarity with KD from, you know, being in OKC that 1 year, that also has to mean at least a little something. You know what I mean? They know each other on a personal. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it's just, those things just make KD feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more welcome. Before I close this out, my only really worry is life after, you know, life after KD. Like I said, we don't know how many years KD has left. Booker, you've already made it known that that's your franchise cornerstone. You know, everything. This is Booker's franchise. You've made it very well known. But is Booker gonna want to stick around when you have really no assets? Like, okay, let's just kind of take a breather real quick. Let's just say this goes terribly. Let's say, you know, CP3 gets to the postseason, his body doesn't hold up, something dings him up, the Suns get beat in the Western Conference Finals. Next year comes around, you know, Booker gets hurt or KD gets hurt, it derails the season. You know, Chris Paul's taking another step back. Maybe they're not as great as they needed to be. And, you know, now we're 2 years into, well, not 2 years, but now we're a year plus into the whole KD Suns, you know, era, and things aren't looking up. Yeah, you definitely still have KD and Booker, who are two of the most valuable assets in the league right now. They're definitely going to attract people to come play with them. But you don't really have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to, you know, cap room and assets. You just mortgaged off 4 unprotected first-round picks. That's something that's unprecedented. Like, that's not something you see. And on top of that, you give up Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, 2 premier assets that you drafted, you brought in, and they adapted. You brought them in, you grew with them, they helped you get to a finals. You just gave those 2 guys out the window. Those are guys who are close to, like, 10 years younger than KD. Those are guys who are, like I said, entering their primes right now. So that's my only worry, is what is life after KD? And I'm only saying KD because he's the big prize right now. We don't know how long he's going to hold up. It's been a while since he's been able to play a full season. Don't get me wrong, his ability is still there. His skill is still there. The respect is still there. He's still arguably the best player in the world, in my opinion. Everything is still there. It's just about his body. From a physical standpoint, will he be able to hold up? Can he play 70-plus games the next 2 years? Can he? Because the past 3-4 years, he hasn't shown that he can. And some of that's not on him. He's had back-to-back freak accidents. He's had 2 guys fall into his knee, each knee, actually. So I can't even put that on him. It's just bad luck. But who am I to say that bad luck's not going to continue next year or the year after that? Is that just a part of, you know, these guys aging, that they're not able to shake this off? Because when you add up Achilles and 2 MCL sprains, he had a stress fracture that he battled a while ago, and he's taller and he's getting a little older. These are things I like to, like, remind of people. Like, yes, these guys are great, don't get me wrong, but you have to really, 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 really be grateful for where they are right now in their careers. You have to really appreciate that. You have to appreciate the time that you have with these guys, because these top 15 players all the time, you don't just draft Kevin Durant. That just doesn't happen. You have to be very blessed to be able to get a prospect like that is ready to adapt to an NBA organization from day one and come and just contribute and be productive in every facet of the game. Those things don't happen. LeBron James is not walking through the door next year. Kevin Durant, that's not walking through the door next year. Steph Curry, he's not walking through the door next year. So when you're going through these draft processes and you're able to, that's why I tip my hat off to the new Suns owner. Him being able to, that doesn't happen either. A new owner comes in and he's able to go get a guy like Kevin Durant and completely extend the team's timeline. That doesn't happen. You really don't see that. You don't see that. So that's really my only worry with them. I mentioned guys like Torrey Craig, Josh Okogie, TJ Warren. Hopefully, he's still getting his legs under him. Obviously, like, he's there on the court, but like we're comparing TJ Warren, who he is right now, to TJ Warren that we saw, mouthing off with Jimmy Butler a couple years ago, or TJ Warren from the bubble. That TJ Warren, we've yet to see it, but he's slowly working himself back. If he can work himself back and be that TJ Warren and be able to bring that to that Phoenix organization off the bench, then Phoenix is in business. But like I said, we have to see the glass half full, half empty. It's been a while. He hasn't played in almost 2 years, so it's definitely been a while. But guys like that, Landry Shamet, Ish Wainwright, Bismack Biyombo, Terrence Ross. Terrence Ross was a great pickup. I love that pickup a lot. A vet, a guy who he's gonna knock down shots. Campaign, another vet. He's been there. The team on paper is not bad. I just want to see all of it come together. So there's really only so much I can say. I do expect this team to be. I feel like they have too much star power, too much experience to not be in the Western Conference Finals. I would be very, very disappointed if they didn't make it. But at the same time, like I said, lack of time together, lack of camaraderie built amongst the three stars, that's gonna take a while. And we also have to see how DeAndre and how he, reacts to this. Obviously, he's gonna look forward to this because there's not gonna be a lot of pressure on him to, score 25 a night and grab 13 boards and do this. Now he can just focus on him being in his role. He's a supremely talented player. He can definitely grow and become this, this all-star that, we all imagined him to be when they drafted him out of Arizona. But, in this specific situation with Kevin Durant, Booker, CP, he's going to be able to kind of just sit back, play his role. Well, not sit back, I shouldn't say that. But he's going to be able to just kind of go in every night, play his role, play hard, and, just kind of help the team, get these W's, because we only have about 25 games left, something like that, and the playoff push is coming. I think Phoenix is like they're like the 5th or 6th seed. They're in the knit and grit of it. So, KD is rumored to come back I believe this Sunday, either this Sunday or next week. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be beautiful basketball. I'm very excited to see it. Yeah.